Shizuski had a fantastic game one. So again, great siege capability, great attack speed, as long as you have the positioning, which we saw very well from Kinesis in game one. So the Derange is going to play a little bit of a different role here, right?
Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, it has more mobility. The legal immunity is going to be great to potentially get out of some of the crowd control that they have. And, you know, the Lung is going to be the biggest question mark, right? There's a lot of pressure on Aspire to kind of really step up and to kind of control the game, because the Lung can do a lot of damage, but it needs a lot of time to get that, you know, to get online, so to speak.
Yeah, he's got to aspire to aspire, right? He's got to aspire to some great
see what you did there.
feats here. Some great heights he needs to aspire to get to this the level of Kinesis in game one. But currently, we're seeing a little bit more tit for tat, a little less of aggression from the side of Major Pride. No sort of engaging into the enemy jungle just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. I mean, they kind of went with this in terms of game one, where they're a little bit slower. They let 3BL be the aggressors, but while they were being aggressive, they weren't getting any kills. MP took advantage of that, just stayed in the lanes and got as much farm as possible, so that they had a much better early game, which kind of propelled them into that awesome mid to late game, where they were able to close the game out. So MP right now, Kashiba, playing a little bit dangerously there.
Yeah, I like how Kashibita is playing this Zhang Fei, right? He's kind of using it as intel. He is pretty much being a roamer, not a support, but a roamer, because Derange's not getting any support right now. He's just trying to offer that intel to the rest of his team. We see that Lady Jen is going for the rotate here. Red QT and Kashibita are now back in the farm lane.
Yeah, and I think this speaks volumes about Kinesis. So the fact that he can play solo, right? He can deal with the two heroes in his lane, so that Kashi can kind of, you know, roam and be a nuisance in the, you know, the other lanes and affect the map throughout. But you know, I think that this is a team that's really starting to find their groove. They're really starting to grow.
Yeah, there's definitely an entity here behind Major Pride. We saw there was a bit of an identity crisis in Seasonal 1 Invitational as they lost to... I mean, they're not just easy teams that they lost to, right? They lost to BKS, they lost to the likes of Alpha 7, really big Brazilian teams, right? Really established teams within the scene already. So this is a great case for those that may be going into the Open Series as a bit of a community team. They may take defeat very hard, but this is what you can do when you learn from your defeats, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing, right? You either win or you learn, and I think that, you know, the learning, unfortunately in my case, there's a lot of learning involved, but I think the teams as well, it's a big thing for them, especially when you're playing as a fiver. But in the top lane, a little bit going at this one, little bit of a skirmish in that top lane, no real damage, no kills. We've still yet to see the first blood, but again, I think 3BL really need to learn, and they need to learn quickly.
Yeah, they need to adapt, right? They may be a little bit more accustomed to this kind of tempo that they're displaying. It's kind of a little bit like a two-step forward, one step forward, two steps back, because they kind of try and go for an engage. They go back to safety, try and gain up, but then it's kind of like Major Pride just taking a 3 steps forward and not turning back because they're just being so aggressive, and taking their farms, going into their jungles, really showing that.
Oh, nice Dream Roam connecting onto 2. That's a huge one, but the Unbridled Outburst, and it looks like Kinesis is going to go down. He's going to give up first blood, but now here's the return kill. Are they able to get him? Ahmad is going to be on that target list. They do get him. They get the Stampede as well, and Kashiba in a bad spot. He's going to be focused. He's going to be killed, so they did get some kills. The Infinite Fastness, the Death at Sunset as well. He gets the Meteor kill. He does on top, but the bubble keeping him alive, the Lingering Dream, and it looks like he's going to be focused here. The Meteor kill, he wants to turn this around, and he's just going to go down, and that might have been a bad spot for Major Pride there.
Yes, the Lingering Dream into the Death on Sunset, right? It was kind of, no, the winter is coming, so tried to get out of there with hopes and dreams that just to be shattered by the winter is coming from Princess Frost, which was a really great zoning material, a good piece of kit there that we really shined light on in that draft. But we did see that Limsky was able to pick up that Tyrant, which, again, he knew that the fight wasn't going to go the way that he wanted to, so he's going to take those next precautionary steps to be like, hey, this is how we're going to make sure that this next team fight goes in our favor.
Yeah, and I think build for the late game, right? Olimsky, we know that has the potential to carry. Just get your farm, right? Understand that we will give up first blood like some games, about half the time, I would say. But it's still a moment where you need to play for the late game. Understand how to play for like the winning, the winning condition, so to speak. I think that this is a situation where MP understand that, hey, the game is not over in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe that's what they had their head cleared in that break, right? It was like, hey, we can't lose our cool this early on, because that's kind of what happened with 3BL. They kind of lost a few lives early on, and then maybe they just came unlevel-headed. And right now, we're seeing a little bit more of the same old from MP. They're trying to get those aggressive engages.
Yeah, a little bit of aggressive here, but I mean, one thing to take note of, Kashi didn't even die a single time in game 1. He's already died in this one. So a little bit different. 3BL realizing that, hey, we need to change up the strategy. But the Unbridled Outburst connecting onto 2, and Infinite Fastness, he gets on out of there instantly. He does not want any of that.
This is the good thing about the Loong pick. If you're in trouble, you can get out of there. You can turn into a dragon and kiss your all your sweet sorrows goodbye. And it really showed there from 3BL. But again, it's really interesting here that MP are looking for blood, right?
Oh, they do get blood, and they get Aspire. He did stick around. Infinite Fastness was, of course, on cooldown. So they knew that there was a bit of an opening and a little bit of a vulnerability, and they took advantage of it. Aspire down for about 15 seconds. That's a pretty big kill for Major Pride.
Yeah, Major Pride being able to actually finally get that gold lead, but hey!
Oh, the Death Sunset right on top of him, not able to get away, and Jawtrix is down for the count as well. And MP, this is kind of what they did in game 1, right? They bullied Jawtrix a little bit. They got a couple of kills, and they went on this one, and so they've done quite well in that sense. And now they're pushing that top T1.
Yeah, top T1 and the farm lane T1, right? Derange is making quick work of that before Loong and the Zhuangzi comes through as well. They're able to take the T1 into the farm lane, but they are able to defend that T1 in the clash. And already right now, we're seeing the MP are going back to their former glory of game 1.
Yeah, they're going back to it. And again, just being aggressive. They've already taken the net worth lead. This is exactly what you want as an MP fan. But the Mirror Domain, that's going to be used just more defensively and to zone them away more than anything else. But the tables have shifted in that sense. Major Pride understanding how to get back in the game, realizing that the game is far from over, and now they're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it seems that way with the gold, right? They're not too far ahead. It's about 1.2k gold difference, which is nothing to kind of shout and write home about. Wait here for Shizuki. He might get caught out, though.
Oh, the Death at Sunset, the get out of jail free card. He's going to use that one. He stays alive. They have 3 members, and that's a pretty big commitment by 3BL, trying to take him out in the top lane. But now the mid lane is going to be pushing here, so they do need to be careful as Yash actually goes and rotates in.
Yeah, nicely done by Viper, though, right? They was able to put the Winters coming down before they left the lane, just to constantly just get rid of that minion wave in the mid lane, because they don't want to lose that T1, because they were able to hold on to it before taking the enemies. But speaking of holding on to things, those T2s in the farm lane is definitely not something they have an affinity to.
Yeah, and they definitely wanted to keep that one alive. But again, it was kind of like the rotation. You had 3 members in 3BL in the top lane. The bottom lane is wide open. Unbridled Outburst is going to be used here just to zone them away. But it's all about the space, and they've taken advantage of it, and they've capitalized that with a Tyrant kill as well.
This is the good thing of the Zhuangzi, right? Is that butterfly effect that you just saw there when the Unbridled Outrage come through, it kind of completely negated the effect of what they were going for on the side of Major Pride. They got the CC immunity on the side of 3BL. They were able to just skip around in what they normally would be being pushed to walls, being stunned as well. So again, I think this is a solid, very well thought pick here for Ahmed.
Yeah, good counter pick. That's definitely what you wanted to have done. I mean, you hit all the right notes in terms of just kind of explaining why the Zhuangzi is just so important. It has a huge amount of potential in terms of the team fights, right? Just slowing it down. And again, that's kind of what you want as Kashiba, where you kind of just control the field, the team fights, and him being able to be somewhat limited, making it more difficult for MP to win those big team fights.
Yep, speaking of team fights, we do see 3 of them on the side of 3BL looking for a mid-rotation here to stop a lane from taking that T1 into the mid lane or even pushing it further, it seems. Is it gone? Yes, it's already gone, but they do sacrifice the T1 in the clash lane, so it's all opening up here for the side of 3BL.
Oh, Limsky had been killed in the bottom lane. Geltrex is going to get credit for this one. They've got 4 members on that one, but the T2 top is going to be forced here. Yash, all he can do is just throw out those bubbles and pray that he stays alive, and if anything, he's just going to back off and recall.
Yeah, so far so good, right, for the side of Major Pride. Unfortunately for 3BL, they are falling behind ever so slightly now in terms of the gold. It is slowly but surely creeping away from them. And the last time we got the gold graph up, we saw that Aspire was behind in the farm lane, which is a point that you don't want to be behind on when you're going against the Direnji. Direnji, getting those items is just going to make it harder for this Lung to actually get to those great heights.
Yeah, and we talked about it in the draft, right? Where Aspire was like, this is a lot of pressure on Lung to kind of get that farm. He hasn't got the most amount of space, so it hasn't been the easiest of times for him, but he really needs to get back. He needs to stop thinking about team fights and just worry about his own farm at this point.
Yeah, there needs to be a point, right, where that is going to settle in, but I think it's going to settle in a little bit too late here for the side of 3BL, as they've lost their third neutral objective over to the side of Major Pride, and it is that Shadow Tyrant caller, which means that it's going to be increased damage and that lightning effect. We have the Spark Forked Dagger on the side of Direnji as well, so that's going to just enable that. The attack speed coming through from that item, the Doomsday as well with the enhanced attacks. It's just going to make this Direnji a brutal pickup for the side of Major Pride.
Yeah, the amount of damage that Kinesis can do just jumping on you. But look in the bottom lane. He's going to try to 1v2 this. Not possible. Geltrex down it yet again. They forced it out. And again, Major Pride just finding weaknesses across the map, understanding where things are on. And it looks like they're going to go for this Overlord here. And they've kind of forced it down. Are they able to get the steal? Ooh. No, it's not able to do so. It looks like Yash is going to get the smite kill. The Unbridled Outburst is going to be on point, though. Ahmed has been killed. They're going to force it down. They're going to run you down. They're going to chase you down to the ends of the earth. And Yash, all he could do is just cry in his bubble and get into that fountain.
Yeah, that was a really interesting play there. I saw that Kashi Batira was coming through there towards the Shadow Overlord. I was like, oh, he has smite. Is it going to be a crucial kill, Fef? But they just kind of killed it a little bit too fast on the side of 3BL, which was, you could see the motion that he wanted to go for. It was honorable, but it just didn't quite surface.
Yeah, not able to get it, just a little bit slow in that sense. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, a little bit of a window in that sense. But Red getting killed here, Yash gets the solo.
Yeah, a little bit too overextending there when you're mid lane. Lady Chen should be sticking around with the folk on her team just so she can stay alive and do that damage.
Oh, Yash getting Meteor killed. The Mirror Domain is going to be committed. Everything thrown at him. And the cute old Menki goes down.
Yes, unfortunately, cute but deadly. Monkey coming through there, but does fall for 3BL, which could be crucial here for them. And you can see that gold graph, very helpful in painting the picture. But unlike game one, 3BL actually had a lead at that 6-minute mark.
They had a much better game. This is definitely something that they can kind of be a little bit more proud about. I think game one was a little bit, they had some nerves, and they're playing much better, but they're still far behind. You know, I think they've gotten some pickoffs, and they've gotten way more kills than they did in the last game. But still, this is a situation now where how do they get space? How do they get back in this one? And Geltrex is pushing the top lane, so that's one way.
Yeah, like you were saying there, Holly, you can kind of see it with the macro play for Charlotte, but okay, this mid lane play.
Yeah, Viper's already down. The Death at Sunset, that's going to be committed. The Moonlight Flash back to safety, and they've gotten Aspire as well as Viper. Geltrex, they're blowing you up. They've gotten everything, and a triple kill going the way of Kinesis. They're taking out all the T3s, and they're looking to end the game here.
This is the problem, right? When you have the Schwangs, as if it falls, that butterfly effect